turned out that Sarah and I were both reborn. In our previous life, I was her husband, and we had what I believed was a deep and loving marriage. This time, however, her path diverged sharply from the one I remembered. She went from being the poor student my family supported to a rising tech mogul. I spent 5 whole years waiting for her, but she actively avoided every opportunity for us to meet, which eventually led me to a painful realization. Maybe she was right. Since we were given a second chance, why not live a different life? In my last life, Sarah and I were known as the most loving couple around. She was relentlessly focused on her career, always the stoic and quiet CEO, while I played the role of a stay-at-home husband, living a comfortable and leisurely life. From the age of 17 until she passed away at 66, she was, as far as I knew, only mine. Even my father, who generally had little faith in most people, warmed up to Sarah. We spent our lives together, just like that. The only real downside was that Sarah passed away before I did. For the next 16 years, I lived alone, surrounded only by my memories of her. When I opened my eyes again, I was 16. This was the year before Sarah and I had even met. Her mother had died early, and she was suffering abuse at the hands of her stepfather. In her freshman year, she had been so badly injured she nearly became disabled. I thought that this time I should be the one to protect her. When I rushed over to her old apartment, I found her stepfather just as he was about to hit her with a bottle. I shoved her out of the way without thinking. There was a brief flash of surprise in her eyes just before the bottle smashed against my back. Shards of glass flew everywhere, and the intense, sharp pain made my vision go dark for a moment. But I didn't regret it. The young Sarah stood there, coldly watching as the police arrived and took her stepfather away. Her uniform was washed out and faded, and her sneakers were old and worn. After a nurse at the hospital patched me up, Sarah thanked me. Her voice was cool and distant. I felt a bit down, but I understood that her difficult personality was a product of her family situation. Because of that, I anonymously transferred my entire allowance into her bank account. It was enough for her to rent a small place and live on her own. A little while later, I saw her on the street in new shoes and new clothes, and only then did I truly feel at ease. The next year, during summer break, was when we were supposed to have our first meeting. In my last life, Sarah had come to thank us, bringing vegetables from a small garden she kept. She had been supported for over a decade by my father's program. I remembered a beautiful, shy girl catching me playing with my dog at the villa entrance. When I asked her what she wanted, her face turned bright red, and she was too flustered to speak. I held back my excitement this time, calculating the exact day she was supposed to arrive. I prepared for it intentionally, watching the villa's front door, hoping she would knock at any moment. Yet, from dawn until dusk, she never came. I wondered if I had remembered the date wrong, or if maybe my dad hadn't supported her in this life. I immediately obtained the list of sponsored students from my dad's assistant, and Sarah's name was on it. Perhaps my earlier actions, saving her from her stepfather, had caused some kind of butterfly effect. I wanted to find her, but it was the crucial college entrance exam period, and I knew I couldn't disturb her. According to our past life, she would get into the best university in the country, and I would get into a college nearby through my arts program, meeting her there again. So I suppressed my longing and waited. In the 3rd year, the exam results were released. Sarah wasn't the city's top scorer. I ran to her old neighborhood, but the neighbors said she had already left. That September, I arrived in G-City, standing on the university campus grounds. I walked past the lake where we used to stroll hand in hand, crossed the bridge we used to call Lover's Bridge, and even visited the building for her old major. But she was nowhere to be found. I tried dialing that now familiar number, but a stranger's voice answered. I refused to give up. G-City was vast, and between my studies, I searched for Sarah. I visited so many places we had been together, but there was still no luck. In our 5th year, in our past life, she had formally confessed to me. Truthfully, we had already held hands and kissed by then, but she said none of that counted until she had officially expressed her feelings. I bought a ticket, flew home, and returned to the seaside. The salty sea breeze tasted bitter. On the beach, I thought I saw a couple embracing in the distance. The girl said, "Mark, I'll give you the best life." She fumbled for the sweet words, but the promise brought tears to her eyes. In a blink, the vision was gone. In the end, Sarah never showed up. I caught a high fever and stumbled home. My dad rushed back from a business trip overnight. I didn't know how to tell him what I was feeling. I just asked if he knew where Sarah was. His secretary answered instead. "That student did pretty well," she said. "She made a lot of money trading stocks. She actually came to your father asking for seed money, bringing some investment information." I realized in that moment that Sarah was also reborn, and she had been reborn even earlier than me. She had purposely avoided all our encounters. The secretary kept talking, but I heard nothing. My heart just sank. Why? Decades of love in our last life felt like a distant dream. I couldn't understand her reasoning. I racked my brain, arriving at a conclusion that had long been buried. She wanted a different life. A life without me. Before marrying Sarah, my dad had shielded me from everything. After marrying Sarah, I lived in comfort, naive and unaware. I had never even considered a life without her. I was feverish for 3 days. It felt like a long, draining illness that used up all my tears. My dad cleared his schedule to stay with me. His stern face hid an undeniable love. I noticed a single gray hair on his head, and in that moment another feeling overtook my heartbreak. It seemed that in my past life, I was so head over heels for Sarah that I never cared how much my dad struggled. After she passed away, the company was managed by professionals who sent me annual checks, but as times changed, my dad's legacy was eventually lost to progress. Suddenly, it hit me. If Sarah could lead a new life, why couldn't I? The fog in my mind cleared. I wiped my tears and told my dad I wanted to learn at the company. A year later, I saw Sarah at a business banquet. I had heard bits and pieces about her. She had attended a regular college and started her business much earlier this time. However, without my full support, she didn't have enough startup funds. She did talk to my dad about investing, but I didn't tell him about my complicated history with her because I didn't want him to lose his objectivity. After all, Sarah's company had been a massive success last time. But this time, after my dad evaluated her project, he turned her down. He said the project didn't just lack a few million now. It would need ongoing investment, constant updates, and iterations. He called it a money drain, not a wise deal. So, in our last life, my dad had only invested in Sarah's ventures because of me. Still, Sarah succeeded. She knew a lot about the last life's stocks, gold, real estate, and cryptocurrency, which was enough to make her rich overnight. She even became famous earlier this time. While other people her age were just looking for jobs, she had already formed her own startup team. Tonight, she was dressed sharply, looking every bit the nouveau riche. Her striking looks drew plenty of attention. I couldn't help but look her way. Sarah seemed to sense it and looked over. The next moment, a striking guy wrapped his arm around her waist, marking his territory. I overheard people talking. That was Sarah's fiancé, Liam. They were in business together, apparently. Sarah had pursued him for a long time before he finally said yes. Sarah always had a reserved, almost cold vibe. In the past life, it was me who fell for her at first sight and took the initiative. Warming a block of ice takes time. I never thought she would be the type to actively pursue someone like that. I remembered a small event from our past. Back then, Sarah once told me she had found a like-minded partner. She often mentioned someone named Liam. I always assumed it was a woman, until one day I called and a man answered. He said Sarah was too drunk to open her eyes. I hesitated, but said nothing. Sarah worked really hard. I once casually brought this up when Sarah and I were dining with my dad. That day, before we left, my dad called Sarah into his study. On the way home, her mood was low. I didn't notice, and just kept sharing interesting stories with her until she finally yelled, "Enough, Mark! You got what you wanted!" Her shout silenced me, startling me. I just thought she was stressed from work. After that, I never heard the name Liam from her again. Thinking back, that Liam was probably this Liam, and maybe it was my dad who made Sarah let him go. But none of this concerned me now. Today, I was here to seek investment for my own project. I hadn't taken over the family business immediately. I wanted to explore my own ventures first. Just as I started talking business with an investor, Sarah and Liam walked over, standing side by side. They looked like a matching pair. Liam cut in, introducing their company. Hearing that name, I paused for a moment. Liam smirked and said with a touch of malice, "Mark, why compete with common folks like us for resources? Whatever tumbles from your dad's fingertips could fund multiple ventures for you." The investors shifted slightly, as if buying into his taunt, assuming I was just a rich kid toying around. Failing wouldn't matter. I could just go back to inherit the family fortune. As I was thinking about how to recover from this, he added, "Mark, competing against us, is it all for my Sarah?" He implied that I had once funded Sarah, stalking her and forcing her to leave her dream university. I looked at Sarah, hoping she would say something to clear things up. Even if we weren't meant to be together in this life, wasn't the 50 years we shared in a previous life genuine? I refused to believe she would actually say that about me. But she stayed silent. Liam watched my reaction with a satisfied grin. Finally, Sarah spoke, her voice cold. "Mark, this investment means a lot to us." I understood. It mattered enough for her to step on me to get it. She added, "Please be the bigger person this time." Her words cemented Liam's insinuations. I stood frozen, unable to believe what I had just heard. The investors turned their gazes to me with a knowing, almost pitiful look. I was at a loss for words. At that moment, someone approached, putting an arm around my shoulder. Her eyes, like blossoming peach flowers, carried a distinct chill, and her smile held a dangerous edge. She said, "I wasn't aware my fiancé was pestering someone else." Sarah's expression changed instantly. Proving someone did something is easy, but proving they didn't is hard. I couldn't immediately debunk Sarah's words, so I turned and said, "Making Sarah give up a top university? That's really my fault. But if she's so easily swayed that she jeopardizes her future, maybe she's not cut out for entrepreneurship." Liam wanted to argue, but couldn't find the words. Sarah's gaze rested on Chloe, the woman by my side. Chloe was American, with striking mixed features and a high-bridged nose. She instantly grabbed everyone's attention. Chloe was the second in her family, technically my fiancé, or rather my ally in a business arrangement. I've tasted love. It's like a fancy cake, sweet and blissful, yet who knows a heart's true intentions? It's better to try a true partnership. I silently thanked Chloe with my eyes. Today, both she and Sarah were in suits, but Sarah looked stiff and formal. Chloe, on the other hand, had the looks of a beauty contest champion. In Sarah's frosty gaze, Chloe vouched for my project. The investor's interest seemed piqued, but getting real money isn't easy, so he didn't finalize the deal right then and there. I wasn't discouraged. I handed him my card and invited him to see the place next time. Liam didn't want to be outdone, so he gave his card too. After the party, Chloe offered me a ride. I politely turned her down. Chloe, who is all about living life to the fullest, didn't get annoyed. She just stepped into her flashy sports car and roared off. That night, I was relaxing in the bathtub, just zoning out, when my phone rang. It was from a number I didn't recognize, but somehow I had a gut feeling. The night was quiet, and the stars were trying their best to shine. I picked up the phone. There was silence on the other end for a long while. I wasn't in a rush. Finally, I heard that insanely familiar voice. "Mark, you really don't need to keep doing this pointless stuff." For 5 whole years, Sarah had avoided me like the plague, as if I had some contagious disease, and now she was contacting me out of the blue. That voice felt like one I had been hearing forever. In another life. It's the voice I had searched for over 5 years. Hearing it now felt like I had lived a whole other lifetime. I didn't understand what she meant right away. Sarah went on. "Mark, you sponsored me, but there are things you can't force. I've got a boyfriend now and, well, he's probably going to be my husband." I was stunned for a moment, and then it hit me. She thought everything I did today, at the banquet, was because I still had feelings for her. She thought that because I couldn't have her, I was trying to take away her investments. I cut to the chase and asked her, "What makes you think I like you?" Sarah paused and didn't answer that question, but I knew why. She didn't know I had lived again, but she was convinced I was into her. She was so sure because she knew. She knew I took the hit for her when her stepdad swung that bottle. She knew I was the one who sent her money. She knew I rented that pricey apartment close to her high school and then sublet it to her for cheap. She knew I had warned the local bullies to back off. She knew I had sent people to her workplace to boost her sales. She knew it all. She knew I had been looking for her. Thinking about it, I couldn't help but laugh. I was laughing at myself for 5 years of wishful thinking, for being so blind, so naive, so foolish. I laughed until I could feel tears welling in my eyes. Sarah, on the other end of the line, didn't understand why. "So, Mark, I hope you stop doing things that make me uneasy," she said. She didn't even get to finish her sentence before I hung up on her. As a final gesture, I blocked her number. If we were truly starting fresh, there should be no more messy loose ends. Inevitably, I still ran into Sarah several times after that. G-City is huge, but folks chasing the same goal always seem to end up in the same spots. Sarah often looked my way, but I knew it wasn't because she missed me. It was because I was stepping on her turf. Seeing me navigate the world of power and money so differently than before. It was a brand new life, exciting and full of surprises for me. The best part was achieving things on my own terms. That's what true accomplishment feels like. No wonder so few women choose to stay home these days. A few days later, I heard that Sarah and Liam got engaged. The woman looked radiant in the photos, wearing a red dress, her arms sweetly intertwined with the man's. We used to be like that once. My heart ached for a split second. But only for a second. I had too much going on. Memories, however, couldn't help but drift back to another lifetime. I'll tell Mark to divorce you. I'll get back all the investments I made in you. That was my father's voice. Sarah's voice was so calm. Liam and I are just friends. He got laid off and asked me to join him because he was upset. Besides, could Mark handle such a blow? My dad hesitated. He wasn't getting any younger, and he did have that heart condition from a while back. When I heard that, I almost fainted. Sarah continued, "Mark is my husband. I'll be with him for life." The girl who used to be shy and awkward around me was now so glib. I opened my eyes slowly, making a small noise. Sarah rushed in instantly by my side, her eyes full of guilt and worry, just like how she used to love me. I sat at my desk for a long time. It turns out not just in this life, but even in the past life I thought was perfect. It was full of lies and deceit. Chloe's message interrupted my thoughts. It was a flirty selfie. Her shirt was half open, her pink tongue teasing the corner of her lips, and her eyes were dreamy, looking all too inviting. Her voice note was husky and teasing. "Fiancé, I've been tricked. Feel like taking advantage of it?" Watching my past wife happy with someone else. Is this the same as seeing an ex move on? Sarah and Liam's engagement party got quite the buzz online. They were called the perfect couple. The woman was elegant and beautiful, better looking than some celebrities, and the man was vibrant and confident, appealing to everyone these days. Liam used the buzz to start a social media presence. During a live stream, he casually mentioned that Sarah had an admirer, a rich guy who was giving her a hard time. "I know Sarah looks good, but to me, she's just an ordinary woman. I hope that young master sees sense soon," he said, sounding pretty chill. When Sarah got home from work, she walked over and kissed Liam on the cheek. Liam exclaimed, making Sarah realize they were still live. The comments were all about jealousy. Meanwhile, I stared at the screen and thought, in another life, it was mostly me chasing after Sarah. I told her day in and day out that I liked her, loved her, called her honey, and was the one who always asked for kisses. It wasn't until 10 years into our marriage that Sarah gradually made kissing a habit, a kiss before leaving home, a kiss when returning. Did I teach her that? Or was it all just faked? Liam and Sarah were still playfully fighting on the stream when suddenly someone behind me asked, "Do they look as good as me?" Chloe blew a warm breath in my ear. Her eyes had a flirty, mischievous sparkle, as though they could reel me in. Her face was still a bit flushed, but her head seemed fine. Last night I had called her bodyguard to take her to the hospital, but 15 minutes later, my doorbell rang. Chloe brazenly walked into my house. I shoved her into the bathroom for a cold shower. I wanted to call 911, but she stopped me. She said this wasn't her first time dealing with something like this and blamed her looks for it. She really does attract attention. Even now she was acting like a troublemaker. I didn't call the cops. She gave me a kiss on the cheek, shamelessly saying, "See, now you've had a kiss from a top-notch beauty like me. You don't need to look elsewhere, do you?" I held it together, but finally snapped and slapped her. That slap left Chloe's pretty face red. It also snapped me out of some almost self-doubting thoughts I was having. I thought that was the end of it, but a few days later, Liam went live again. In my past life, I studied art. Even though I had been a stay-at-home husband, I used to post my work on my art account since high school. It wasn't a career, but I did have some fans, especially after posting some comics that showed my everyday life with Sarah, which unexpectedly blew up, even getting a publishing deal. But that was in my past life. While waiting for Sarah these 5 years, I had updated it with some memories from back then. It was my way of remembering her. Eventually, Sarah stopped appearing on the account, replaced with updates about my new entrepreneurial journey, like when I recently beat out Sarah and others for a new investment. This didn't catch much attention compared to the love life of a CEO, so I didn't have many followers. I mostly updated it for fun, not really caring. But I was more concerned that Sarah's company seemed on the verge of collapsing. My dad had a sharp eye. Without long-term investment, Sarah's project couldn't succeed. I thought this would be the end of my connection with Sarah's story, until one day, someone sent me a recording of Liam's live stream. His eyes were red, but he looked determined. He said, "Sarah and I both came from ordinary families. We've worked hard to get where we are, thinking effort would be rewarded. Turns out we've been pawns for the rich from the start. Sir, Sarah, and you are from different worlds. With a flick of your fingers, you could crush her. Crushing the company to force Sarah to compromise won't work. Please, let her go, and let our hard work go." A lot of people flooded my comic account. They found my old comics. I had never mentioned the main character's name, but her appearance, her background, her work, it all matched Sarah's. There was a lot of vulgar language, hard to ignore. I don't know why Liam did this. My dad called me right away. He spoke like nothing had happened. "Mark, want to take a vacation? Your dad thinks the Maldives is nice. You were going to go after high school, right? Time to make up for it now." My nose tingled. In both lifetimes, I seemed like a burden to my dad. He's tough on everyone, never sparing words. But when it comes to me, he's so cautious, afraid I'd get hurt. I smiled. "I'll go once things settle at the company, and I'll take you with me, Dad." He wanted to say more, but I interrupted. "Don't worry, Dad. I'm not afraid. I'm no longer a flower in a greenhouse. I don't need someone to shield me or water me. I can face the storms myself." I posted a statement on my account, wishing Sarah and Liam a happy engagement. I admitted that in high school, I had a crush on Sarah, but that was years ago. No such pressure exists as Liam claimed. Half a day later, Sarah posted something too. "Liam's a bit straightforward, impulsive, can't hide things. Sorry for the trouble." The picture she included was of her cooking for Liam, which matched a panel in my comic. It had a touch of finding joy in hardship. In the midst of all this buzz, Chloe went live under the name of Mark's Fiancé. She didn't do much. She just sunbathed and stared into space. After some sunbathing, she switched sides in front of the camera to continue, showing off an overly perfect face, a Patek Philippe on her wrist, and a sexy bikini. It seemed she wasn't just sunbathing. Much later, she spoke slowly. "Mark has been with someone like me. Would he even look at Sarah?" In the comments, people were giving thumbs ups. Actions speak louder than words. Sarah's pretty, but Chloe's face is just too striking. But no one knows she's lying. I haven't been with her. After a while, Chloe jumped into the pool to swim. After swimming a bit, she flicked her hair, sending water flying, and gave the camera a heart. "Fiancé, did you see me?" I didn't. I quietly closed the stream and logged out. It seemed like that could be the end of it. But some people just wouldn't let go. Someone posted, "Just because she has a fiancé doesn't mean she hasn't done it before, right?" It's easy to see through, but there are always bystanders or people who love drama that get misled. Those words, however, didn't cause a big stir. I started probing into Sarah's company's financial situation. As expected, it was bleak. This is why Liam and Sarah made such bold moves, trying to use the internet to boost their company's profile. But they, focused on the wrong spot. Sarah's isn't a pop company. No one's investing in a tech company over gossip. Liam kept hyping up their products in his live stream, but slowly, people in the comments started catching on. Someone bluntly pointed out Liam's intentions, and this, on the surface, had nothing to do with an innocent Sarah. I chuckled, then shared some financial records, all the money I had sent to Sarah over those 5 years. I couldn't find her, but her bank account never changed. The recipient's name was as clear as day. Before long, one of Sarah's old classmates stepped up and mentioned how my family has been supporting several underprivileged students for a while. Both my family and the school always emphasized keeping a low profile. Initially, he didn't want to bring this up, but seeing Sarah's behavior, he couldn't stay silent. "Wouldn't it be nice if you had feelings for me too? I'm cheaper than Sarah. I could stay single for 30 years just so you could have a secret crush on me. Please, I'm begging you." Things started to take a turn. The public's sense of justice can switch pretty fast. Sarah had no choice but to address it head-on. She thanked me for my past admiration. She mentioned that she and Liam had already explained things from back then, and that he felt really sorry. "May our friendship last forever." Every word seemed to carry a hidden meaning. She didn't even mention the previous misunderstandings. Liam's blunt and fiery personality was really convenient right now. By framing it as friendship, she made it seem like the money given was out of concern for a friend, with no need for payback. Being inarticulate always seemed like Sarah's disguise. Or maybe that was just my assumption all along. Watching too many romance novels makes you start projecting their traits onto real people. This person is the class bully, so she's loyal. This person is the younger student, so she's lively and cute. But people are always multifaceted. In these few years of this new life, I seem to have grown more than in decades of the previous life. You really need to explore the world for yourself and walk your own path. My company is doing better and better. We're even taking on some projects from my mother-in-law's company. But Sarah's company is slowly fading away. However, Sarah can still leverage her memories from the last life to make money. She can invest in stocks or real estate as an individual, but she can never take her companies public again. I started seeing Chloe more frequently. She's not hitting the club scene as much anymore. I quickly learned why. Her half-brother returned to the country, and she needed my support. I picked a time to have dinner with her at a fancy restaurant. Good food can really bring people closer. Once you've shared a meal with someone, you're no longer strangers. You've got a shared meal connection. Chloe seemed pretty happy with my invitation. She dressed to the nines, catching everyone's eyes as she walked in. She's stunning. Without makeup, she's like a little swan. Once she's dressed up, she's more like a swan princess. "Why are you so forward today? Missed me?" she teased, her ears turning red. I had no idea if she was faking it or being real. I didn't bother to reply, just focused on the menu. Chloe seemed in a great mood and kept smiling. Midway through dinner, a commotion broke out nearby. Massive green plants blocked the tables from each other, so I couldn't see anyone, but I heard voices I recognized. Liam was there, sounding pissed. "Sarah, you can't use me like that. You're the one who told me Mark was bothering you." Sarah sounded as cold as ever. "I never said that. I just mentioned he's been trying to find me for 5 years. That's how you took it." "What about the money he gave you?" "Sarah, you don't even need that money anymore. Why not give it back? It'd make us look less at fault." Sarah calmly replied, "He wanted to give it to me. I never asked for it. It wasn't a loan, so it's not about returning it. We look bad because you made a big deal out of it, letting people smear my name." Sarah had a point, The money was indeed something I freely gave, unconditional resource sharing. But Liam couldn't accept that. He slammed his knife and fork, stood up, and stormed off. Sarah followed soon after. She spotted me on her way out and froze for a second, like she wanted to come over. But then Chloe shot her a look and planted a cheeky kiss on my cheek. Sarah's face went blank for a moment before she turned and left. Chloe, on the other hand, looked even smirkier, even humming a little tune. By the time I finished eating, I wiped my mouth and said, "I'll help you outshine your brother, but I want 5% of the shares once it's done." Her smile died abruptly. This dinner wasn't exactly a bust, but Chloe didn't look too pleased by the end. You shouldn't mess with our collaboration, though. As for Sarah and Liam, they still seemed all lovey-dovey on Liam's account, like everything was made up. But rumors started swirling. People spotted Liam on a dating app. Only side profiles and backs, but folks recognized him. Soon after, some companies in the industry mentioned they'd gotten his resume. He seemed to be slowly cutting ties with Sarah. The spring of the next year rolled around. I began focusing more on work. Friends I used to gossip with have faded away, becoming names on a list, just drifting due to different life paths. A few still stick around, and the people showing interest in me seemed to be a whole new batch. Meanwhile, plans for my engagement party with Chloe were put into the works. A few days before the party, I ran into Sarah again. She tried to visit my office but was stopped by the secretary. We really didn't have anything more to discuss. But she somehow got into my residential area and waited at my doorstep. Seeing her again conjured up mixed feelings. Sarah and I lived a whole life together, but the insight I've gained in these few years far surpasses the decades we shared before. A young girl in poverty, shy, diligent, quiet, loyal. She loved me, but just didn't know how to express it. That was my past view of her. But that impression was only partially accurate. Long-buried memories resurfaced once more. In our first year of marriage, she worked a 24-hour shift, but still came back to celebrate my birthday, holding a bouquet and cooking for me. By our 5th anniversary, the business was picking up, and even though she was abroad, she flew back overnight to surprise me. She even scoured many places to find a watch I had casually mentioned liking. In our 10th year, she took a long vacation to travel with me. She couldn't disconnect entirely, so she kept handling business calls, but it didn't change how happy I was. All these moments were beautiful memories. Maybe a lot of it looks better in memory. Looking back, it seems just okay. Someone else could have done it too. Sarah and I shouldn't have met again a long time ago. She chose a new life, and so did I. I stepped out of the greenhouse and saw a new world. But now, Sarah doesn't seem to think the same. She dressed up like I used to style her in my past life, looking really pretty. She even did her hair. "The past incident troubled you a lot, Mark," she said, "and I've been wanting to apologize on Liam's behalf in person. He misunderstood our relationship and acted wrong. This incident made me realize that maybe Liam and I aren't right for each other." I listened to Sarah's words coldly. I couldn't tell what was true or false, but all I heard was her avoiding responsibility. If Liam really misunderstood Tina on his own, she had countless chances to stop him from trashing me online. But she didn't. The Sarah I remembered, older but comforting, started to lose her color. All that was left was the young, calculating Sarah in front of me. She blamed everything on Liam. Like a dream, people's hearts change easily, and she's changed again and again. Sarah said, "Mark, by some twist of fate, we missed 5 years. Now I wonder, is there still a chance to truly know each other?" Her serious expression had a hint of caution, but she couldn't hide the determination in her eyes. She seemed to assume that since I liked her so much in my past life, I'd feel the same now. Otherwise, I wouldn't have looked for her for 5 years. But I don't deny the past, and I don't long for a future with her. I smiled and said, "No need to get to know each other again. We already knew each other in our past lives." The neighborhood was quiet. Above, the stars got brighter. Sarah's breathing almost stopped. She looked at me, opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. She was reminiscing, trying to recall our interactions. I watched her calmly. She seemed to finally realize years ago, when I blocked that bottle for her, I was already reborn. And she was reborn even earlier than me. According to the past life's death time, she was 16 years earlier. She planned everything for her new life, excitedly ready for a do-over. She accumulated wealth using memories from the past life, but because her starting capital was too small, the speed was slow, and in all her plans, there was no me. I went from being unknowingly in love with her to realizing the truth and watching coldly to being complete strangers. Now, we have no possibilities left. Her appearance only disgusts me. Sarah finally realized we were at a dead end. Her face turned as white as a sheet, losing all color. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to say something, but I had no patience left to chat with her. As I went to close the door, Sarah grabbed hold. Her last words were, "Can you not get engaged to Chloe yet? I know I made some mistakes, but you don't have to marry someone you don't love just to spite me." I let out a cold laugh, kicked her hand away, and shut the door on Sarah's distressed face. Later, Liam came to see me too. He sincerely apologized. I had nothing much to say, but he promised to take responsibility for his actions. I didn't respond much. The previous online harassment didn't really harm me. In my past life, I'm not sure of the whole story, but I always got dragged into it innocently, so I chose not to enter a happy ending storyline with him. Unexpectedly, he later apologized live on stream. More people in the comments started to see clearly. No comment on the streamer, but why is the sly girl still hiding so prettily? Sarah came by many more times after that. I ignored her, but at my and Chloe's engagement party, she didn't show. She sent me a message. "Mark, I'll wait for you." Chloe saw it and was furious for a while, sending dozens of 60-second voice messages cursing her in different languages. But Sarah, having lived through 2 lifetimes, wouldn't be scared off by a few words from a young girl. Her message remained directed at me. "Chloe is so immature. Are you sure you want to choose her?" After the engagement party ended, as we parted, Chloe caught me off guard, pulling me into an embrace and pressing her lips on mine. She was a good kisser, very into it. I enjoyed it, almost getting lost in it. Then I suddenly snapped back to reality and rolled my eyes. Chloe sent that photo to Sarah. Sarah blocked her. Before the new year hit, Sarah disappeared. Liam had submitted evidence of Sarah's company evading taxes and bribery, putting Sarah behind bars. He originally didn't intend for mutual destruction, just a clean break, but Sarah held his non-compete agreement, leaving him no option to find another job. You either stay jobless or keep working for Sarah's declining company. So many things can't be overthought. 6 months later, my wedding with Chloe was a grand affair. Before it, my dad asked me again and again if I was marrying Chloe out of love. He didn't want me marrying for any benefits. I asked him back, "Did you come together with Mom for love?" He paused, then smiled and said yes. My mom loved him a lot. That's why they got together and had me. But when that love faded, they parted ways. I said, I can do that too. Love boldly when in love, and stop when the love is gone. I wasn't sure how long Chloe and I would be together. But for now, I wanted to marry her. There's not that much pure love in the world, because it's fitting, because it's her, so I love. And me, I'm unafraid of any outcome now. In our 5th year of marriage, Chloe and I went our separate ways. There were many reasons. Her having too many male friends was part of it. Her lack of capability was another part, but not the deciding factor. The deciding factor was that she wanted kids. She wanted to use me to have a child for an inheritance, not out of love. Her family pressured her. Her eldest sister already had 3 kids, and another on the way. She mentioned it twice to me. When she brought it up the 3rd time, I knew our marriage was over. When we parted, Chloe's hands were tightly clenched. I got into my Bentley, hearing her ask behind me, "Mark, how can you be so heartless? Do you have no feelings for me at all?" I do, but how much? I don't even know. It's real, and it's ironic. Decades of lies end up changing a person. Sarah made me afraid of loving freely again. Most of the time, I love myself more, and my dad. I'm afraid of getting hurt, even a little. I don't know if this is a good thing. Maybe it is. At least now I'm not all that hurt. For Chloe, it's probably not great, but she'll eventually accept it. Everyone's growing, everyone's changing. She will too. Life is long. There's nothing you can't get over. I'll keep moving forward, little by little. This is the normal state of life.
Che in realtà io potrei fare così. Potrei vaffanculo chiudere, mettermi Twitch da telefono, leggere la chat dal telefono, ecco, e questo chiuderlo e mettere gli appunti qui a destra. Ecco, benissimo. Allora, i NPC che abbiamo per adesso sono Yosefka, e quindi che conosco, che non ho perso.
Ah, salve, hai trovato super... Dia che è ancora... Io mi prendo, sono nelle tue mani.
Ok, quella frase non è molto rassicurante. Poi tizio con la tubercolosi nella finestra, so dov'è, possiamo andarci a mano. Vedete, ovviamente non so il nome, gli do delle descrizioni stupide, no? Senso. E andrà via. Bimba alla finestra.